Good morning, everyone. This is Gene. I'm back with a new video. Sorry for the lack of light. We're having a pretty, looks like, dreary and rainy day today. Here in the city, the weather can't make up her mind. Don't know. It's sunny one day, it's rainy the next, and it's very early in the morning. It's like 6:15 in the morning right now. So I just wanted to make a brief video. Actually, I was just watching a Clownfish TV video about censorship, in particular, the censorship of the movie Splash, which came out in like 1984. One moment. Excuse me. Splash came out in like 1984, starred Daryl Hannah. And what they were saying in the video is that several bootay shots of Daryl Hannah in that film were being censored. So I just wanted to briefly give my thoughts on this censorship that Disney apparently is doing to this and other movies. I was reading some comments in the video, and there were some people mentioning that they'd even censored a scene in the film Lilo and Stitch involving a dryer. I saw Lilo and Stitch when it came out, but I don't remember it too well. But apparently there's something with a dryer, and they tried to replace it with a pizza box, and it's just a very bad edit. So I just wanted to just briefly give my thoughts on this. It's complicated, but I don't agree with Disney here, and here's why. First of all, from best I can tell, it seems that they are censoring the original copy, right? Or what would be the original copy if you were to spend money and to purchase these films. And I don't agree with that. I grew up with various things being censored, growing up born in the mid-'80s, growing up as a 90s kid, going into the 2000s as a teenager and then a young adult. Censorship has always been around, right? Whether it's airing things at a certain time because it's less chance that kids will be up and awake to see it, or toning down some videos, or flat out not airing them because they're just too sexy or just too controversial, or whether it's putting the parent advisory label on an album, or ratings and rankings in movies, or of course with video games, all the controversies that Midway caused back in the day because of the Mortal Kombat games and all this stuff. So and I did a long like hour-long video about my thoughts on censorship. I'm not one of those people who's like never no censorship ever. I can understand on a case-by-case basis where you might have to censor something. But in my opinion, if you do, then you should create a censored version of the original work, a clean edit, a radio copy. This is what they often did in music, certainly back when I was a kid. Because there were plenty of songs where they were playing on the radio that had profanity and whatnot. The issue back when I was a kid, looking back on this, seems to be more of profanity than necessarily adult content. Because there were plenty of songs that were out when I was a kid. A few of them that I remember in particular were songs like Pony by Genuine, which is intensely sexual. He's not talking about riding a literal pony. Let's just put it that way. But there were songs like Pony. There were songs like I Touch Myself by the Divinyls. Yes, that's an actual song. Or you had Damn, I Wish I Was Your Lover, which actually has a reference to that love being lesbian, right? Making love to her, vision clear, right? So the issue back when I was a kid in the 1990s was less adult content and more profanity, in most instances, at least the way I perceive it, or at least I remember it. But at least when I was growing up in that time, there would be a radio edit, right? There would be a radio edit, and then when you bought back in the day, it would have been the CD, you got the uncensored version. Or sometimes the artist would be kind enough to include the original uncensored work, right? And then create a clean edit of their album, or have the one album but include both the censored and uncensored versions of the songs, right? And this even happens in digital today, right? There are plenty of songs in my playlist. I have like over 300 songs in like my like Google Play or whatever, right? Where they are the censored versions of certain songs because I like the song, but I don't like the profanity, right? A good chunk of my Guns N' Roses collection is like this, but you can find on Google Play censored versions of those songs, but the original versions are still there, and I think personally that's the best way you should go because it respects the viewers and really not just the viewer but the consumer because you're spending money on these things. It respects the consumer's right to choose and their autonomy. It gives them a choice. You can get the original version if you want. You can get the censored version if you want. You can get both if you want. This is something that they even did in anime back in the early like 2000s, like Funimation. I hate to bring them up, but Funimation, for example, when they did the Yu Yu Hakusho edit, they would create two versions of it for sale: the censored version, right, and the uncensored version. In particular, because I had several DVDs back then of the show, and so I had copies of both in many instances. Right, Yusuke's dialogue was quite different in the uncensored version than it was in the censored version, which makes sense. In the uncensored version, Yusuke swears up a storm. And the uncensored version was usually the one that they would air on like Toonami or those more, general purpose, general audience type of anime shows back then. So naturally his dialogue would be toned down. There would be some characters who were slightly edited. For example, I think there was the nurse Ruka, the redhead. It happened during the dark tournament. In the censored version, her design is meant to emulate like a crop top and then like booty shorts, where in the uncensored version, her look is sexier. We'll just put it that way, and a bit more skin bearing. And then there are small parts that are cut out. Like there's one scene during the dark tournament where you see Kuwabara is sleeping and he like sticks his hand down his pants and he scratches his groin and all this other stuff. So minor things like that would be left out of the censored version, but that made sense, right? It didn't impact the story, it didn't impact characterization, there were throwaway scenes, and so I can understand. But most importantly, it was a censored version and did not impact the original. You could still get the original version if that was what you wanted. Now, it seems that Disney is going back, right? Splash came out in 1984, I think? Now they're going back, right? Whether it's this or whether it's with comics, I didn't cover it because I thought it was a minor thing, but they're like editing old comics like to take out cigarettes, and anybody who has read comics from the 80s knows that Wolverine was always chomping on a cigarette and all this, and they're going back and they're editing these things and they're censoring them, right? And not creating a censored copy. They're editing the originals, and this is the part that I am firmly against, right? Censoring the original copy. It's one thing if you want to create a copy and that's your edit, that's your clean edit. That's fine, in my opinion, because then you have choice then, right? And something is created for those who are interested in the work, but have certain sensitivities, whether it's displays of sex or violence or language or like smoking or whatever it is, right? That's fine, in my opinion, like 99.99% of the time. But when you don't have a censored edit, and you're creating and you're editing the original, right? Sorry about that. You're editing the original work. That I firmly disagree with, because when you are censoring the original work without a backup copy of the original uncensored work available for sale, for consumption, you are, in my opinion, violating creative freedom and creative expression. And in my opinion, that's not right. So long as it doesn't break the law, people have a right to create damn near anything that they want, and they have a right to sell that. Right? It's up to the consumer to decide whether or not they want to buy it. And when you violate creative intent and creative expression, you also violate creative narrative, right? These scenes or these words or whatever it is exist in the song for a reason. Let me use 2 Disney examples. Since Disney's doing this, right? Let's use 2 Disney examples. In the animated version of Beauty and the Beast, right, there's this scene early on in the film where Gaston says that he's going to marry Belle. So he pulls together a wedding reception, and he literally just bursts his way into her home, tells her that they're going to get married, talks about how he has this perfect vision of the future planned out for them. Sorry about the city noises again. It's 6 a.m. and the city never sleeps. But he plans out this grand history, not history, sorry. He plans out this grand future for them, which includes, of course, everything he wants and nothing that she wants, because he's that guy. But there's a point at the end where he stalks her around the living room, right? She's trying to create distance between them. She puts a chair in his way, right? It's clearly become predatory at this moment. And at the end, the scene ends with her pressed up against the front door, Gaston in front of her, trying to convince her to say yes and agree to marry him, right? And she gets out of the situation by pulling a trick with the door, opening it. He goes tumbling outside into the mud, right? Now here's the thing. This scene exists for a reason in the film, right? When the film originally came out, there was no problem with this. I know, I was there, I was 7. But over the years, there are some people who have made the argument that the scene is rapey. In my opinion, it is not rapey. In my opinion, it is creepy and predatory, which is the point. It's highlighting Gaston, or rather I should say it's foreshadowing Gaston's fall into villainy. And it's highlighting just how predatory he is. He's a hunter. She's the prey. She's what he wants. And he won't stop to get it, right? He wants her to marry him. What does he do towards the end of the film? He threatens to have Maurice committed, and the only way that he'll stop what's his name? I forget the guy's name. The creepy old man that he conspires with, right? He'll only stop the guy. RJ, stop! Ow! Don't bite me, cat. Anyway, now the cat wants to play. He's trying to chew my feet. But anyway, right? The only way that Gaston won't have Maurice committed is if Belle agrees to marry him, right? Oh, excuse me. Sorry, I have a crazy cat who's trying to play with me via clawed combat. My apologies. Anyway, all right. So, if you take out, 1 second. Sorry for all the motion, people. If you take out that scene in the beginning of the film, are you losing much for the film overall? No, but you are losing an important element of Gaston's story and of his character, of his character arc, right? And I don't, and just as a friggin' grown woman, if I'm gonna spend money on something I don't need to have, which is a copy of a film I've quite literally seen hundreds of times over the years, I want the right and the ability to purchase the version of the film I want. You want to make a censored cut where that scene is toned down or cut out? Okay, fine. That's your choice. But I want to be able to purchase the original version because that's what I want. I don't want the ability to purchase the uncensored version taken away from me because there are some people 20 some odd years later, well, hell, closer to 30 years later at this point, who feel that the scene is rapey. Or take Gargoyles. There's this episode of Gargoyles, season 1, episode 8, Deadly Force, right? And it's where Lisa gets shot with her own gun. And the scene for a 1990s kids cartoon show is pretty graphic, right? It shows her lying on her kitchen floor, covered in blood, right? Over the years, Disney has censored this scene, but at the very least, at least in my understanding, the censorship of this scene, because in the original one, right, it aired in full. I remember seeing that original episode. But of course, because sensitivities change, and especially given that it's dealing with I wouldn't necessarily say gun violence, but I guess gun safety, because Elisa is shot by accident by Broadway, so it's not necessarily an act of violence, right? But over the years, because of sensitivities surrounding guns and shootings and children and whatnot, this scene was toned down in airings, for example, when they had Disney Plus on cable and whatnot. I don't agree with censoring this scene, but again, I understand times change. But if I'm going to spend money, right? If you want me to use Google Plus, not Google Plus, sorry. If you want me to use Disney Plus and spend money on this product, right? Whether it's money for the service or money for the service and money for, say, the episode, because I'm not quite sure how this works, right? But I do know that money is being spent. If you want me to spend money on this, then for me at least, you need to give me the option, right? The option to either watch or purchase the original uncensored Deadly Force episode or to purchase the censored one. And for me personally, I would not get. I don't have Disney Plus, so let's just put it like that. I don't have Disney Plus, and this is part of the reason why I don't have Disney Plus, because I don't want Disney to make that decision for me. I'm a 35-year-old woman. I can decide for myself at this point what I want to see. You want to create parental controls? You want to create kids versions, or clean versions, and create like a separate spot on the website or the app or however it works, where look, if you want the censored versions for whatever reason, you can go here. That's fine. But when you talk about censoring the original copies and not providing any other option, right? Especially for films or episodes that are decades upon decades upon decades old. No. I'm not for that. I'm not for that at all. They should not be editing these movies, or potentially these scenes in movies or episodes, and having that censored edit be the only version you can purchase. That, in my opinion, is just that is an obscene use of and overreach and abuse of censorship, in my personal opinion, right? As being a consumer, I have choice, and I choose not to patronize Disney if they're not going to give me the choice to choose what I want to see. I can decide for myself in my old age, right? Whether something or not something is too sexy for me, or something is too violent, or there's too much bad language, or whatever it is. I can set those standards for myself. I can look at something in content, in context, and decide whether or not I'm okay with it. I do not want or need Disney to be making that decision for me. And I can't speak for others, but I would imagine that there are a lot of people, perhaps even parents, who are like, you know what? I can make decisions for myself. I can make decisions for my children and what they're exposed to, right? But this monopoly that Disney has created, it never should have happened, because now they own so much of entertainment. Granted, they're falling to pieces, so we'll see what happens, because they're basically out of money thanks to the coronavirus. But still, when everything, how do I put it? When you have all of your eggs in one basket, this is what happens, right? The head chicken, or I guess the head mouse in this case, gets to edit everything without consideration for others, right? And as someone noted in the comments on the clownfish video, the Touchstone Films actually was created by Disney. I think they also made, it was either Touchstone or Paramount, but I know that they worked, one of those studios worked with Disney to create Who Framed Roger Rabbit, right? Because Disney didn't want their name on that film, right? Because while it's a good film, it's actually one of the favorites of my childhood, right? Jessica Rabbit alone makes the film way, way, way too adult for what Disney typically represents. So I know that they actually, I guess, own the film now, or at least own the rights or part of the rights. But there's another one too, right? What if, like, for me personally, if you're gonna ask me to buy Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and you tone down Jessica, especially the lounge scene, right, where she comes out singing "Why Don't You Do Right," if you're gonna tone that down or take it out because she's too sexy, and her sexuality and her design threatens insecure people, then give me my money back, because I love that scene. Because she owns the room. So it's like, if you're going to take that out or change it, give me my money back, because that's not what I'm paying for. I want the full movie and the full performance. But anyway, those are my thoughts. Please let me know what you think, and I will see you all on the next one. Have a good day. Bye.